What's going on, guys? I'm just sitting here writing, and I thought I'd turn my camera on. So, what is art, and can art be good or bad? These are things that have kind of been on my mind lately, and I'll talk about why in a little bit. But I just thought I'd turn my camera on and talk a little bit about it. Now, before I start on this little monologue, I want to make two things explicitly clear. The first is probably the most important, that whether or not someone is or is not technically proficient at a craft should be completely detached from the conversation of them endeavoring to pursue it. All right, I think that whether or not you are good at something is just, it doesn't matter. If you enjoy creating it, then you should do it, and more importantly, no one should tell you that you can't do it. No one should tell you that you shouldn't do it. If someone tells you that you aren't good at something and uses that as a prerequisite for a conversation about you stopping it, I say that that is wrong and it shouldn't be done. So I think that that's the first thing of whatever the conclusion of this little monologue is that ultimately it doesn't matter if something is good or if you are good at something. If you enjoy doing it, that should be the driving factor behind you creating. And the second is, I could be wrong, right? As previously stated, I don't have any formal education in any of this stuff. I've just been pursuing it for a very long time, and I'm not necessarily married to this little monologue that I'm going to go on, and I'm actually genuinely curious to hear what anybody else might be thinking, just purely for my own self-enrichment. So, with that out of the way, a conversation about what is art and can art technically be good or bad is something that I've been thinking a lot about recently. So I guess a good place to start would be to tell you guys my definition of art. I can't believe that I almost missed an opportunity to grab my dictionary off the wall. This is my 20th Century Webster. It is a 4th edition print. It was printed back in, I think it was like 44. It is huge and obnoxious, but I love it. Art. Skill, dexterity, or the power of performing certain actions acquired by experience of study or observation. So, that's just one definition of the 8 in here, and it's the one that best fits my worldview. But anytime you're having a conversation about art within, the context of defining it, you're going to see common motifs such as creativity and skill. And I think that that's a safe definition, that art is a testament to human creativity and skill. And I think that that's going off of this definition. Yes, you can adequately say that anything is art. But then the question became, okay, can we definitively say what is good art or bad art? And funnily enough, the conclusion that I came to was no, we can't. And that's very counter to my adolescent viewpoint on the subject. And, I'm a working class guy. I'm a soldier. And, I work with a bunch of other soldiers, and they're all my best friends, and I love them. But they aren't really super inundated with, the cultural context behind art and the community in general. So when they hear me say that there is no such thing as good art or bad art, what they're hearing me say is you can tape a banana to the wall and it's good art. And that's not what I'm saying. And, I'm not really here to comment on the more sycophantic, pretentious fields of art in general. I don't think that most people are. If you enjoy that stuff, go enjoy it. It's not for me to, peg you with stones. But what I am saying is that it's not for us to judge artwork on any singular metric. Now, there are a lot of metrics that you can judge art on. I can stand at the precipice of a piece, I can look at it, and I can say, okay, this artwork displays a high degree of skill. I can see the technical proficiency that the artist placed into this. Or maybe that wasn't the artist's intent. Maybe this isn't something that they focused on, but it was very interpretive. It was very impressionistic, and creativity is the thing that I'm supposed to be gaining from this piece. Or we can talk about it within its cultural context, its significance there. There's a lot of different apparatuses in which we can ascertain things from just individualized pieces. And I think that if you were to judge any piece on a single apparatus, you're kind of missing the point. And again, this itself might be a little bit of a pretentious rant, but it's something that I did a lot when I was a kid. For any of you guys who have been around my channel for the whopping 2 months that it's or 2 weeks that it's been around, you know that like I'm an artist that works in hyper technical mediums. So like this is like the kind of stuff that I do. It's hyper realism with a ballpoint pen. Like I love it. It's so much fun. But when I was a kid, that was what I did, and so that's what I thought that art was. And that was the only metric that I judged art on. It was how much skill was present in the piece. And ultimately, I believe that it was to my detriment. You know, it stifled a lot of the creative process that goes into art. Now, I'm not arguing that people use, you know, the fluidity behind the definition of art to get away and kind of cope with the fact that they are unskilled. That does happen, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Art is something that you should create for yourself, and other people can witness it and let them say what they want. It really doesn't matter. And like we can have a lot of conversations within, you know, culture about lionizing something that's ugly, and I think that, you know, they're worthwhile conversations because in a very not objective way, like I've seen art that I personally do not think is good, and you could almost be mistaken for calling it objective because it seems like the rest of the world doesn't think it's good. But you know what? Okay, maybe that doesn't mean it's objective. Maybe just 7.6 billion people don't think that this piece is good and they get to critique it, and 100 people do think that it's good. Fine, it just is. But something that has been on my mind a lot more lately is the intersection between the value that we place on art and then the apparatus of skill. Because I think that it's becoming more important now. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of tools coming out. Tools. Artificial intelligence, all right? Artificial intelligence is kind of coming for us all as artists. It's coming for me a lot slower than it is coming for like my digital brethren. And I think that it's important to acknowledge that the first battlefield, that the first casualty of war that you are seeing with artificial intelligence is skill. Like that's the first thing you're taking out of the equation when you type into a prompt and you receive artwork back. You are taking away from the decades of work that some of these digital artists have dedicated to mastering this craft. And it is a craft. For a long time, I didn't really like digital art because, like, oh, you have an undo button. You know, it's not real art. You have an undo button. You can just erase it. Okay, fun fact, digital art is way harder than traditional art, at least for me. I've tried it. If you're going to critique something, you have to put in the effort to try to do it yourself. I don't critique digital art anymore. It's super, super hard. I'm not ever really going to do it. I'm a traditional artist at heart. I like paper. That's what I do. I have mad respect for people who choose to operate within this medium. But I think that the reason that I have that mad respect, the reason that I look at them so much is because I've attempted to do it, and I know that how hard it is. And if we don't value that, if we don't value the skill that it took to create this, to make the artwork that they're making, then that's when we're letting artificial intelligence take their jobs. And I think that it's super sad. And what's more sad, I think, is that I have a tendency to be pretty optimistic towards society and even to the point of naivety. I don't think that any normal people are championing this idea of artificial intelligence. I think that generally, at least anecdotally from what I've seen, people see this and they're disgusted by it. You know, with all of the stuff coming out about, like, you know, Miyazaki and the Studio Ghibli stuff, you know, Miyazaki is a staple, and he has been for decades. His animation style, it's all centered around this idea of intentionality. And people are just kind of making artificial intelligence, just mimicking his style, and I don't even fault them that much. What I fault is the people who make these tools and just give them to the public. And if you want to make artificial intelligent, like if you want to like put something into a prompt for yourself, even if you want to put it on the internet, I guess okay, that's fine. You're well within your right to do it. I would just argue that be aware of what you're representing. I mean, these AI tools, they are mimicking very specific art styles. They say it. So, respect where you're drawing your inspiration from, but more importantly, I think that people need to disclose that they're using artificial intelligence. That's a growing thing that I've seen. And again, this is less people, this is more companies. All right? If you are a corporation and you are replacing artists with artificial intelligence, or you are augmenting artists with artificial intelligence, the extent to which you are doing so must be disclosed to the consumer so that we as people can make the appropriate decision on whether or not we want to consume it. Again, I'm not a digital artist and I don't really consume a crazy amount of digital art. I think that these digital artists, they have an eye for it. They can see when something's AI just because they're very familiar with the medium. They understand it. I don't a lot of the times. I'm okay at it. Like, there's some that are obvious, but there are things that I see that I wouldn't be able to tell you if it's AI or not. And I feel really, really bad, and it makes me just want to consume none of it because I don't know if I'm taking away from a real artist or not by admiring this. And maybe people don't go through that stream of conscious the same way that I do. I don't know. But I think that it's just kind of an important thing to acknowledge as we go forward that, that skill is a big part of what makes something artwork. And if we don't acknowledge that, then we are in danger of letting a lot of very real artists kind of fall by the wayside. So that's just kind of something that I was thinking about today. Again, if you enjoy creating, none of this matters. It doesn't matter if you are a good or bad artist. I would, again, if you're using tools that don't require an overabundance of skill, I would just advise caution, so that you're not taking away from artists that are spending a lot of time on their craft. But ultimately, I would endeavor, to encourage people to create, as I will consistently do. That's kind of turning into the common theme behind this channel. So, sure, there it is. Is everything art? Yes, it is. I mean, you people are going to be really pretentious about that, but yeah, I guess anything can be art. And can art be good? Or bad? No. Art cannot be good or bad. There are many different apparatuses that you can judge a piece on, and they should be relegated to those specific apparatuses. You're within your right to say, like, this piece displays a certain amount of skill or a certain amount of, even creativity is fluid, but you get my point. Proficiency. Certain adjectives and nouns, these are things that we can use to describe pieces, but I think that it's a little bit presumptuous to say that art can be graded on a holistic metric. I don't know why that's what I'm thinking about today, but it is. There's 12 minutes of your life that you're not going to get back. Just me thinking. Thanks, guys.